Former lead singer with the Welsh rock group LostProphets has pleaded guilty to a string of sex offences. In Cardiff Crown Court heard that Ian Watkins was seen on video abusing a child and that he'd spoken of plans to get a baby hooked on hard drugs.
And then he would just tell me about this super flirty 4-year-old, and how can she be super flirty? She's 4 years old.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. Today's case is actually the most requested case that has ever been asked for on my channel. It has taken me months to get this written in a way that I am happy with. I know that there is a lot of people that are still big fans of Ian Watkins. Reasons why, I'm not sure. But I wanted to be completely fair to every single aspect of this case. I just want to say before we start this video that when I was younger, I was a fan of LostProphets. They had really catchy songs, and I think everyone at a certain point was listening to them. I was never massively into them, so I didn't ever consider them my idols or anything like that. I just quite liked some of their songs. And now I won't listen to those songs because of what Ian Watkins has done. They absolutely had some what I call earworms because some of their songs were extremely catchy. And if back in the day you didn't have the song Rooftops on repeat, then I just don't believe you. A lot of my friends were really into LostProphets. One of my friends actually met Ian Watkins. She didn't have an overall positive experience. She actually wasn't going to meet Ian Watkins. She had gone to meet another band. And then when she left, she had bumped into Ian Watkins and he just made her feel completely uneasy. I had other friends at the time that had met him at a show, but their experiences were positive. And my ex-partner had the exact same tattoos as Ian Watkins. So although I wasn't a massive fan, I was always around people that were. And I just want to say to the people that are still fans of Ian Watkins, I get why naturally you're on the defence. I understand that without even knowing me, you're going to resent me. You're going to dislike me because this is your childhood idol. This is someone you admired for such a long time. There will be people that a certain LostProphets song saved their life and therefore they accredit that to Ian Watkins. So I get it. I understand that you're going to be defensive over him, but I don't understand that you can still be defensive and still admire someone who was found guilty by his own admission to what is about to be said in today's case. So if you don't know who Ian Watkins is, Ian Watkins was the lead singer for a very popular rock band called LostProphets. This man did commit serious crimes, and today we are going to be deep diving into the life and crimes of Ian Watkins. Ian David Carslake Watkins was born on the 30th of July 1977 in Merthyr Tydfil. His parents are Elaine Davis and John Davis. John Davis is actually his stepfather, as his biological father, Ronald DJ Watkins, died when Ian was just 5 years old. His mother, Elaine, would meet John and marry him 3 years later. Ian is the oldest of 3 siblings. He has a brother called Daniel and a sister called Lisa. He later moved to Pontypridd where he attended Hawthorne High School. In high school, he actually met future LostProphets bandmate Mike Lewis. His stepfather John Davis was a Baptist minister, and Ian Watkins was incredible at school. He was a straight A student and he was said to be a very happy child and a very happy teenager. Later in his schooling, he actually gained a first-class honours degree in graphic design. He got this from the University of Wales in Newport. And Ian Watkins was straight edge, which meant that he did not drink and he refused to take any illegal substances. In 1991, Ian would join a band called Aftermath. Aftermath was a thrash metal band, and Ian Watkins would actually join quite a few bands before ending up in LostProphets. LostProphets was created when Lee Gaze and Ian Watkins' previous band Fleshbind broke up. LostProphets was actually written slightly differently, and I'll add that to the screen now. It was a very slight difference, but it was a bit edgier and very of that time. LostProphets was formed in 1997, and Ian and Lee would team up with Mike Lewis and Mike Chaplin. Ian Watkins actually played drums for the previous band Fleshbind, but when LostProphets found it incredibly difficult to find a lead singer, Ian Watkins decided that he would take that role. And if we're looking at the band's success, that was a great move. Mike Lewis and Ian Watkins were also in another band between the years of 1998 and 2000, and this band was called Public Disturbance. LostProphets started out just like any other band. They started off small and they mainly toured Wales, and in Wales they would play pubs and clubs. They gained a lot of popularity in South Wales, and they decided that to widen their publicity, they would tour the rest of the UK. LostProphets had a new and addictive sound, and what made it even better was that Ian Watkins had all this energy, and he was such a charismatic frontman. So because of this, they went from strength to strength in their popularity within the UK. At this point, the band actually had 3 demos, but the one that gained the most attention was the demo called The Fake Sound of Progress. This demo was actually produced by Stuart Richardson, who would later join the band as bassist. During the tour of the UK, they were being looked at by Kerrang! Magazine and Metal Hammer Magazine. They both gave the band excellent reviews, and this yet again pushed the popularity of LostProphets. And in 1999 they signed with independent label Visible Noise. Upon releasing their debut album, their fame and popularity continued to rise. Notable songs on this album include The Fake Sound of Progress and Shinobi vs Dragon Ninja. During this time they also played as support acts to Linkin Park and Deftones, and they also started playing a few shows as headliners. They were again going from strength to strength, and they played at Ozfest, they played Glastonbury, and they played the Reading and Leeds festivals. They also would appear on multiple UK TV shows, including Top of the Pops and Nevermind the Buzzcocks. In 2002, they also performed at the NME Carling Awards tour. In 2003, they started writing songs for their new album, Start Something. Notable songs from this album include Burn Burn, which was just everywhere on rock music stations, Last Summer and Last Train Home. Last Train Home actually got very popular in the USA and landed into the US charts. It also consistently received plays on MTV. The album officially released in February 2004 and landed at number 4 in the UK charts. The album actually sold over 415,000 copies, but of course that number is probably a lot bigger now. Worldwide, that album has sold over 2.5 million copies. On the back of this, LostProphets then decided it was now time to tour America. They would tour North America and Europe, and they would also play festivals in Australia and New Zealand. The band then had a fairly long gap between albums, and they then come back in 2006 with Liberation Transmission. The gap was actually a really successful thing to do though, because when they came back with this album, they hit number 1 in the UK charts. And this was the album, because this album had songs like Rooftops, A Town Called Hypocrisy, which he says is hypocrisy, so excuse me for whichever way is how it's meant to be said. Broken Hearts and Torn Up Letters, and 4am Forever. Those are just some of the songs on the album, but honestly I think you could individually name each song because each song was actually a hit. If we separate the band from Ian Watkins, then I have to say that Liberation Transmission is an excellent album. But unfortunately we're always going to see Ian Watkins as a big part of LostProphets, and it's difficult to listen to those songs now because Ian Watkins is the singer. On that as well, music videos are very hard to watch. In the music video for A Town Called Hypocrisy, they use children in that music video. And it's meant to be really light-hearted and funny, but in hindsight, it's a really creepy video. Hopefully, somewhere on this screen there are clips from that music video if YouTube has allowed me to do that. If not, just type in LostProphets, A Town Called Hypocrisy onto YouTube and you can see how it makes you feel. Because now that I watch it, I feel hugely uncomfortable. And sadly, this was my favourite song from the band. Less about me, more about the case. The band would continue to do really well. They gained a huge mass of fans and played tour after tour. Ian Watkins would reference his fan as his mega fans. Later, he and the band would start using the phrase mega lols, which was pretty of the time, like everyone was saying lol and stuff like that. But the band would then use it on merch and it sold out in huge numbers. Literally all of my friends even had this Mega Lols t-shirt, and I remember it being like a white t-shirt with Mega Lols and then I think exclamation marks, but essentially everyone had that shirt. Hindsight again is a wonderful thing though, because the site in which they sold the shirt was www.mega wearemadeinhell.com. And again, when we get into the crimes of this case, that's quite unsettling. LostProphets released their 4th album, The Betrayed, in 2010. Notable songs from this album are It's Not the End of the World But I Can See It From Here and Where We Belong. And they would release their 5th album, Weapons, in 2012. A notable song from this album is We Bring an Arsenal. Stuart Richardson would say in 2019 that the band had noticed that Ian had a depressingly sad drug addiction between the years of 2009 and 2011. Ian Watkins was, as I said before, straight edge, and he was fully against taking illegal substances. But as the fame of LostProphets grew and he could obtain whatever he wanted, Ian Watkins started slowly but surely getting into drugs. Ian Watkins actually started drinking alcohol, and then it would move to cocaine, MDMA, and even crystal meth. We all know that drugs can change a person, and I think it was from the point of 2009 that we really start seeing a change in Ian Watkins. His friends said at this point Ian Watkins just stopped caring about himself altogether. They said that he would very rarely ever take a shower. They referred to him as a junkie, and they said that his apartment was always a state. In 2012, LostProphets played a UK tour, and on their show at Cardiff Point, Ian Watkins was noticeably different in how he sang on stage and how he performed. According to the other members of the band, he did not move from one spot on stage and was singing incorrect words to their songs. After this show, the band staged an intervention with Ian. It was brutal but necessary. They told him that if he did not clean up his act, he would be fired. This led to Ian Watkins checking into rehab during a 2-month break in the band's touring. Ian Watkins actually got better from rehab, but when the band went back on tour, Ian Watkins relapsed. It got so bad that he missed shows, and another member of the band, Jamie, had to step in as vocals. LostProphets performed their final show at the Newport Centre in Wales on the 14th of November 2012. Which I think is really quite sad for the band, because it was like a full circle moment for them. They started playing in Wales and they ended playing in Wales. It's quite nice in a way, but because of the reasons why, I find it quite sad for them. Another piece of information that I found was that in August 2012, Stuart Richardson and Ian Watkins had a violent altercation. Research claims that this altercation happened because Stuart Richardson was really unhappy with how Ian Watkins performed on stage. But then there was other information that suggested that Stuart Richardson had found out about the crimes that Ian had committed. Before we get into the crimes, I just want to go into Ian Watkins' dating history because it's actually really relevant for later on. Ian Watkins has been in relationships with Fern Cotton between the years of 2004 and 2005, Marissa Fester from 2003 to 2005, and Alicia Simmons. He also dated Alexa Chung in 2007, and there was a rumour of him dating Tila Tequila. From 2007, there was another lady on the scene, and her name is Joanna Majelix. She is an ex-soldier and in multiple parts of research, it says that Joanna and Ian were dating, but Joanna firmly denies this. She says that he would just come and see her for intimate relations. I'm not sure if YouTube is happy with me even suggesting that. Joanna said that for 4 years she was trying to tell the police about Ian Watkins. Ian Watkins had apparently been seeing her since 2006 so that he could indulge in his fantasies. And she said that on many occasions he would tell her that he had a desire for children. She said that each time she saw Ian, it became more and more intense and darker and darker. She also said that he told her that he wanted to go all the way with children. Please excuse me for the words I'm using. YouTube will ban me in a hot second if I say certain terms. She said, everything changed for us when he confided in me that he wanted to abuse children in 2008. I went straight to South Wales Police and made a complaint, but they ignored me and said I needed evidence. I warned them that this man was a danger to young children, but I think they thought I was just a troublemaker. I couldn't believe how indifferent the police were. It was like they were taking his side and dismissing me as some stalker. I told Ian that I had gone to the police and we argued, but he was so cocky. He did not think the police would touch him, and he was right. It was then I realised I had to turn off any feelings I had for him and turn on my work mode. I had to treat him like any other client and try and get as much evidence as I could whilst pretending to be whatever it was that he wanted me to be. I was determined to save more children from this monster. Joanna also said that Ian Watkins had previously boasted to her about taking the innocence of a few 14-year-old fans. Joanna also told the police that Ian Watkins wanted to get her pregnant for the sole purpose that he could abuse her baby. She also revealed that Ian enjoyed turning his fans into what he called superfans, who would be women that would allow him to abuse their babies. Joanna originally went to the police in 2008, but by June 2009, the case was closed and no further action was taken. In October of 2010, the police are then alerted to some worrying things that Ian Watkins has said in interviews, but again, they dismiss this and close the case. On April the 3rd, 2012, a day after their album Weapons was released, a video was filmed that shows Ian Watkins abusing a baby. What's even more disturbing is that hours before this video was filmed, LostProphets played a small set on BBC Radio 1. In the same evening, it was found that he had watched a video of a woman abusing her baby. This video was sent to him by one of his superfans who knew of his sexual desires. I need a moment because this is just horrible, and it is such a thing that he could truly get anything he wanted, and if people in his team couldn't get what he wanted, he knew that he could manipulate his fans into getting anything he wanted. It is absolutely sick. He created videos with underage fans around the world. He called one of his fans, who he made a video with, his underage SLUT. In October of 2012, Ian Watkins is arrested for illegal substances and his laptop is seized. Whilst evidence was being looked at and his computer was being looked through, he was allowed out on bail. He would return to LostProphets and play a UK tour. When he was back with his bandmates, he actually said that he was being set up. He said that there was a woman who was deeply interested in him, but because he didn't feel the same way, she was vengeful and spreading awful rumours. So of course the band can totally believe this is true. They have a huge fan base and there are a lot of people who are deeply in adoration of Ian Watkins. So a month later, on the 14th of November 2012, LostProphets play their final show. And this would be the last time that Ian Watkins is ever on stage. On the 19th of December 2012, Ian Watkins is arrested. There are 13 offences, including the attempted attack of a baby. I distinctly remember this being on the news because they originally got it wrong. If you know the pop group Steps, in Steps there's a member called H, and his real name is Ian Watkins. And I remember when this information came out, they actually put a picture of H from Steps. And H from Steps got death threats. He got so violently attacked. He did sue the news channels for this, and they had to quickly change everything and change it to the LostProphets frontman instead. But the damage had been done. H had received so much hate, and then when they had changed it to LostProphets, people were just in disbelief. I also remember this really well because when the news came out, my partner, who originally had tattoos that were exactly the same as Ian Watkins, had to go and get them lasered off. It was a really wild time. There was a lot of tears, a lot of disbelief, and I think still to this day there are still people that can't believe that this is true. And this bit I just couldn't believe, but this is true. When they had searched Ian Watkins' laptop, they actually needed to get code crackers involved to work out his password. They worked out that his password was kids. Like, can you believe that? He had numerous photos of children on his laptop, and 24 were considered at the worst point of child abuse. He also had 22 photos and 1 video. They also found Skype conversations of a distressing nature. I just also want to add in here a few bits of research that I found during my research for this case. There's a few tweets that he created that are now really troubling in hindsight, and this article from Kerrang magazine, where they did a feature with Ian Watkins called Famous Last Words. One question they ask him is, when was the last time you did something you shouldn't have? And he responds with, last night I'm not telling you what. Then about 4 questions down, a question is asked, when did you last have sex? And he responds, last night actually. Now that is hideous, isn't it? When you know now what that could have been, and probably was. On October the 1st, 2013, LostProphets declare the band as no more. Originally, Ian Watkins pled not guilty, but in November 2013 he changed his plea from not guilty to guilty. He admitted to assaulting 2 babies of 2 different fans. So one fan had a baby boy and the other fan had a young girl. And separately, the 2 mothers would arrange for Ian to come over and abuse their children. The 2 mothers would also get their children high. They would then record the events that followed. There is a lot more to what these 3 individuals would do, but I physically cannot share that with you on YouTube because again, I would get banned. However, a very quick search on Google of Ian Watkins' court will bring up a summarised document of the events that happened in court. It will also explain a very, very detailed step-by-step of what the 3 individuals did to these children. I have a couple of quotes here from that document, and the first one is Ian to the mother of the baby boy. To be honest though, I think we have gone easy on him so far. Time to teach him and make him learn to love it. To the other mother, he texted, if you belong to me, so does your baby. Joanna's previous claims were finally believed after all these years. There has always in history been an issue with women of this profession and cases in court, and this is just another example of it. Plus, Ian Watkins had huge celebrity status, so who was this one random woman in comparison to Ian Watkins? It is disgusting, and it is a huge shame that they didn't believe her immediately, because these children may not have been abused. In 2013, Ian Watkins was sentenced to 35 years in prison. The mothers of the babies received 14 and 17 years respectively. Personally, I know they were manipulated, but what they did deserves the same amount of time. The only good that come from this is that those children were put into care. And there really is nothing good about that overall, because those children will eventually find out what happened to them and they are going to suffer the consequences. And 35 years in prison is not enough when you take away someone's life, mentally or physically. Judge Justice Royce, who was the judge in the case of Ian Watkins, had this to say. You, Watkins, achieved fame and success as the lead singer of LostProphets. You had many fawning fans. That gave you power. You knew you could use that power to induce young female fans to help satisfy your apparently insatiable lust and to take part in the sexual abuse of their young children. Away from the highlights of your public performances lay a dark and sinister side. Like I say, there is a full reading of all of this case on Google. There is a summarised version and there is a much bigger version too. And if after reading that you can still believe that Ian Watkins is a wonderful person who you should still adore, then I am shocked. Because 35 years is not just given to anyone. This is not a light sentence. People actually get less for murder. And just remember, he admitted guilty to these charges. And to make matters worse, it doesn't end there. Ian Watkins was originally placed in HMP Wakefield, but he actually asked to be moved so he was closer to his mother because she had a kidney transplant. And they were very kind to him and they moved him to HMP Long Lartin just so he could be closer to his mother. But then authorities found that when he was in prison, he was contacting another mother and speaking about what they could do to her child. He then lost the privilege of being close to his mother and was moved back to HMP Wakefield. Ian Watkins was found with a mobile phone that he had kept hidden in his rectum, which then added 10 months onto his sentence. Notorious prisoners of HMP Wakefield include Charles Bronson, Ian Huntley and Harold Shipman, but obviously not at the same time as Ian Watkins. It's also said that Ian Watkins, whilst in prison, actually made a friendship with Mick Philpott. Mick Philpott is the arsonist who killed his children. They had cells next to each other and apparently they bonded and they would often be seen playing pool together. You just can't make this up, can you? And his cocky side never left him, because apparently when he was arrested, he told his friend that he was going to put a tweet up saying it was just mega lols. He just didn't take it seriously at all, did he? He truly felt untouchable. He also told this friend that he was going to claim that he was out of his mind, and that is why he originally pled not guilty. And being out of his mind because of illegal substances was actually a defence that was brought up by his defence lawyer. Ian Watkins can apply for parole in 2036. I've said it before, but people even still to this day, even though he's committed the crimes, he has pled guilty, and he has committed more crimes whilst in prison, still believe that he is innocent. In 2023, so this year at the time of filming, there was new news about Ian Watkins in prison. Ian Watkins had been stabbed by other prisoners, and they said that it was over guitar lessons. His injuries were so severe, but he did survive. Now, I personally do not believe this was actually over guitar lessons. In prison, the worst thing you can be is a child abuser. And I truly think that people knew this about Ian, and also apparently these prisoners were new to the prison. So I don't believe that they attacked him because of a heated discussion about guitar lessons. I think they knew what he was in for and they just didn't like it. There is no new information though whether or not Ian Watkins went back into the general population and went back to his cell, or he's still in solitude. If he is in solitude for his own protection, it just feels like VIP treatment, doesn't it? His mother still goes and sees her son. They were and they are still incredibly close. His stepdad actually said, "This is so hard, it's overwhelming. It has affected every aspect of our lives." The parents are also very concerned that he will be remembered as a new Jimmy Savile. They both, however, do not believe in disowning him, and they say that they would never disown their own blood. So that was the case of Ian Watkins. Thank you for being so patient on this, because you have all requested it for such a long time. It's one that needed quite a bit of research and actually a lot of hours of mental peace afterwards, if that makes sense. I also wanted to be fair. I did not know that Ian Watkins had actually turned to crystal meth, and that can really change a person. That's no excuses, because he did what he did and now he's obviously sober in prison. He's still doing things that he absolutely shouldn't be. But I do wonder if, because he took so many drugs, it changed his mentality, or he was always like this. It's like Ted Bundy. He was incredibly intelligent and incredibly charming, but behind closed doors, he was a prolific serial killer. So we just don't know. Just because someone is deemed as attractive and they're famous doesn't mean that they're any less likely to be a horrific person. A few members from LostProphets have now started their own band, and it's called No Devotion. So please give all your love and support to them, because they did nothing wrong in this and they have lost their entire lifestyles because of Ian Watkins. I truly feel sorry for the rest of the band in this case. I hope this video was informative. Like I say, I know you've been waiting for a long time, so I hope I covered everything you wanted me to cover. If you have any more recommendations, I do have a Patreon and you can request recommendations there. If you like this video, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. You must hear that from every YouTuber, but there is a reason why we say it, because if you do like, comment and subscribe, then this video gets seen by more people and we're able to make more content. But for now, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall hopefully see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.